Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here to share the current state of my research, part of my research undertaken on behalf of CENIA. And this research is related to the analysis or proposal for policymakers in the Czech Republic to better address the management of bioplastics in the Czech market. So let me move here. What I propose is a decision-ready roadmap, moving from the standardization to policy making. Here we have a quick overview of the proposal of the research. We know that bioplastics have been entering into the European market, not only the Czech market, at a faster rate than our understanding about proper collection, sorting, and treatment facilities available. So it's important to have sufficient capacity for treating the waste from bioplastics. There are three main pressure points in this context that I highlight here. You will see in the next slide in the diagram. The first is the claims confusion, misunderstanding about what plastics consist in. There is also an uneven access to suitable treatment, and that's not only the reality in the Czech Republic, in other European countries as well. And fees that are not aligned with the verified benefit. So what I propose here is a well-structured, step-by-step roadmap that can help us defining the appropriate measures that can be implemented in the Czech Republic under the leadership of CENIA, but in cooperation with ECOCOM and with the Ministry of Environment, the municipalities, and the waste operators, producers, and so on. Producers of plastics or bioplastics. Here are specific objectives that I am addressing. So important at the very first stage is to clarify terminology and then bind those claims of regarding the conventionally used terms related to bioplastics to certification, and provide appropriate instructions in the packaging regarding the disposal of those materials. And it's also important to address the decision tree for the extended producer responsibility in a way that we are able to set a well-calibrated and periodically verifiable eco-modulation fees that is linked to certified products, of course, and to certain access to appropriate treatment and to pilot evidence. So here what I present, and you will see, is a three-phase roadmap. Later on I will show briefly. And of course, this is a strategic year which I have chosen. We know that in practical terms, things might need to be readjusted and extended, of course, because it depends on several stakeholders involved what we are proposing. This is a part of a large research undertaken by CENIA in cooperation with other Czech partners under the CIVU project. So you certainly know already well about this project. And in my case, the goal of my research is to contribute to provide an alternative, a solution, a strategic framework that can contribute to reduce contamination of plastics and bio-waste streams, and also preventing misleading claims like greenwashing. Well, let's have a look on the problem statement in the Czech context. first of all, I mentioned before, there is a public confusion and even access to suitable treatment. And it's important to adapt the EU framework that already exists into the Czech conditions, understand that how that framework can be translated to the Czech conditions, integrating with the ECOCOM and municipal practice. Here are the three main interlinked systemic barriers that we currently find. As I said before, this is not this is not a typical Czech problem. It's a typical problem we will find across European countries as well and beyond. The claims confusion, the treatment access, and the fees misaligned, or causing also misrouting of the wastes. It's important to understand definitions and clarify them. So it's not my goal here to provide a clear definition and solve this issue here, but throughout the process, it will be necessary to elaborate clear instructions to all stakeholders involved to understand what this definition means and what is applicable to their case. So bio-based, biodegradable, compostable, these are three important terms that we find in several norms already, and it is the source of certain confusion. And we need to clarify that what is the which characteristics of the waste from bioplastics are eligible for example, the eco model extended producer responsibility fees. So here are some, I provide in these tables difference between them by definition with some typical examples. Bio-based is made partly or fully from biological resource, but it says nothing about the end-of-life behavior. So when we see a product labeled like bio-based, we should not take for granted that this is a product that is welcome to our waste stream, since we need to understand what are the implications when we dispose of this type of product and the Czech waste stream. Biodegradable, we know that means that it can be broken down by microorganisms, but in certain controlled environment, and time frame is important to mention. But there is no instruction about disposal. We know that under which conditions it can be biodegradable, but we do not know how it should be destined, this product. It doesn't links to this characteristic. And compostable means that it meets recognizes standards for organic recycling with defined tests and limit. So what we need to see is that in terms of bioplastics, that should be compostable, and it will not cause contaminations on the waste stream. Where we have, for example, plastics being recycled, it will not undermine the recycling of conventional plastics, and at the same time, it will not contaminate. It was me who pressed it? I don't know. Okay. It's not me moving here. I'm sorry. Okay. Do I have extra time? Yeah. Thank you so much. All right. So in this table and the following ones have these differentiations between these three types of materials, of course, which will help us understanding the particularities between them and creating a common framework. Also, it will help us in communicating with the stakeholders. Of course, there's not enough time to go through all these details here, but I will be pleased to share even in a report to those who will be interested. regarding standards and labeling that make claims auditable, we have already identified the following ones for compostability standards. We have 2 European ones, one for packaging compostability, one for plastics compostability. We also have the international ISO, 2 ISOs for global compostable and also for packaging for organic recycling. And some are more specifically, particularly in the United States, there are some norms for industrial composting, which can be used by waste operators in the Czech Republic to test and validate the accuracy, effectiveness of their solutions. And we have also recognized labels from TÜV Austria that are increasingly being adopted also in the Czech Republic. The seedling logo, which is widely now in Europe, from European bioplastics. And all these norms and these labels are important for when they are properly linked to the extended producer responsibility eco-modulation in a way that we can increase the level of verification of performance of those solutions proposed in the pilot level first. So here are some of these impacts, system impacts and risks that I highlighted. And in the next diagram, we will see then here presented. So the misroutes and contamination, which is one of the source of the problems. When we do not understand, we are not able to sort out the materials properly. We cause problems of contaminations. Cost incentives are not, when they are not properly aligned, it also creates problem because it does not encourage the producers to improve the quality of the materials, of the plastics they are producing. And at the same time, it may undermine or cause major problems to the municipalities when they are absorbing too much of those costs that otherwise should have been covered by the producers when managing, correcting the waste stream that are contaminated, for example. So these are the claims confusions, also another important issue that I presented there. And these are the systemic barriers. Over that, they are linked to misroutes and contaminations, and then to high system cost or misaligned incentives. What we need, of course, is to calibrate in order to set up proposed accurate incentives that will contribute to improving investments in technology for treatment as well, and proper sorting of the materials. And here are 2 technologies that I have investigated and found that are already being implemented in Europe in the pilot level, but the results are very promising. Most of them are used for conventional plastics, but they can be adapted to the case of bioplastics. One is a tracer-based sorting, and the other is digital watermarking, which I can provide more information later to those who might be interested. And these are 2 alternatives of solutions we can try to pursue through the roadmap proposed, as you will see later on. So the decision tree for eco-modulated free fees are composed by 3 logic steps. We needed to answer to the questions, so we needed to create means to make sure that the compostable is certified, and when it's not certified, we cannot categorize it as a bioplastic or get some reduced EPR fees for that. We need to ensure the access to suitable treatment. So the question is there access to suitable treatment at least 70% of the population? Or is there a pilot evidence of net benefit These are important questions we need to answer in a sequential manner. Of course, it's important that the littering cost payments should remain applicable only for single-use format, so package that are for single use. And also very important to make sure that there is a plain language, accessible language, instructing about the disposal of the materials. Here we can see the decision tree for eco-modulated EPR fees, how it will be. So we first need to answer to the questions at the gate 1. And if that is answer to that question is yes, we move to the next step and see if there is sufficient access to suitable treatment. Then we move to third level and evaluate the answer to that question. Pilot evidence of net benefit. If there is evidence that there is an improvement, so we can finally consider a discount fee, but temporary, because it has to be verified after some months, maybe 1 year or 18 months. If the situation is neutral, it did not improve, so we just can propose to apply this standard fee. And if the situation has worsened and increased too much the cost on the side of waste operators and the municipalities, then higher fees should be implemented for such results. Here is what's happening now in the Czech Republic and what is still missing. So a lot have been already implemented, as you can see, especially in terms of the translation of the labels of the norms and to the Czech context. It's also, currently we know that bioplastic is covered under the same EPR category as conventional plastics, at least it's recognized. And what we need to do is to define through after some better understanding initiatives, define sub-fees and co-modulation system within this extended producer responsibility that already exists in the Czech Republic. And other things, as I mentioned before, the municipal pilot project with tracer-based sorting and digital watermarking technologies is something that also can be encouraged here. And there are European funding programs that support such initiatives like in the LIFE program. So this is one thing we would like to focus on the next years to get European funding to involve the stakeholders. So this is the proposed municipal pilot design that has been with, in which we would have a CENIA coordinating efforts together with a municipality, EcoCom, and the waste operators. So this would be a work that could start next year or the year after, but 2 years would be good to implement. And this is a proposal. This is a proposal which can be, of course, moved according to the, after consulting with the necessary stakeholders to get involved. But definitely, this is a good, well-structured step to go through, like with preparation of the agreements, selecting the pilot areas, waste streams, confirm what are the treatment routes available, composting or anaerobic digestions, and also starting to undertake the separate collection of compostable packaging. So within the pilot, launching and awareness campaign, the start of the awareness campaign. Then we have the mid-term monitoring, which is important to, is an important step to evaluate track what has been the capture rate and contamination data, performance assessment, which goes afterwards, reviewing the key performance indicators, and finally, of course, the policy feedback with a final pilot report and provide policy recommendation to the Minister of Environment and to EcoCom. Here are some examples of indicators, key performance indicators that we can address, taking account some, these are baseline data that I'm just showing you. This is illustratively, okay? This is not accurate data on access to suitable treatment percentage, just to illustrate from what can be from the situation current situation and what we can propose to achieve after we implement those pilot projects through those 3 steps.
Ticiano, I'm sorry, you ran out of time.
Performance indicators.
0 already for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
So can you resume, please?
Yes, I will resume. So, based on that, then I propose the roadmap as you can see here, with the pilot implementation, scale up, and finally the pilot integration. That's what you can see here. So this is a proposal that plan to implement from the next year, and by starting connecting with the EcoCon, and also with waste operators and municipalities. And this can be pursued within European funding programs like programs I mentioned before. So I thank you so much for the opportunity to share this.
Thank you very much. And in case somebody is more interested, there are the contact data. And you will be here, I suppose, yes. Until the end. So during the next coffee break, you can address Ticiano and ask him directly. Anyway, there is a question. I don't know how deep is your command of Czech, but I will try to translate it how I can. Bioplastics are a dent and evolution way. The user doesn't know, doesn't want to recognize it, and within the recycle flow, it's creating problems, including in the industrial composing, composing. Yeah. Places where, in spite of the affirmations of the producers, the decomposition doesn't take place. What do you think about that?
Yes, this is more than a question. This is like
that's not really a question. It's more a kind of affirmation.
Like evidence. Yeah. And I agree. I endorse this because this is a well-perceived observation. Since this is the current situation, that's why in the very beginning, as I mentioned in my proposal, it's important to provide the foundations to clearly understand what bioplastic means and how to differentiate bioplastics from conventional plastics. Some are very similar. When you look physically, they look the same. And you can only distinguish by using sophisticated methods that I mentioned at the top of that diagram that are already being tested with very successful and high rates of distinction. And it would be great to connect with those entities implementing these technologies and try to adapt and develop some pilot testing in the Czech Republic. And after that, we will be able to better address the idea of bioplastics incorporated in the Czech Republic. But one of the very important issues we need to address is the understand the awareness about bioplastics. That should not be perceived as something that is only greenwashing. That is because it happens many times without appropriate understanding and regulations. It ends up like that, we know it. So I can only endorse. So we need to create the basic foundations for that to help the policymakers to set the right regime that will not only stimulate, but will properly control how bioplastics are being managed in the Czech waste stream.
Thank you very much. And if I may just add one question, which is not very easy, but thank you for speeding up your presentation, but I think it gave us the idea how vast and overwhelming is the topic. So imagine, because you know that here now we have debates about who is going to be the next Minister of Environment, etc., etc. So imagine whoever the minister is, you are being named the counselor, advisor to the minister. What are the first 3 steps in your area you would advise?
Well, I would certainly propose to, as I said, to go through some well-structured roadmap. We need to first understand how to differentiate bioplastics from the conventional plastics. And we need to set up, make this technology for sorting out and distinguishing widely accessible on the Czech market. So maybe we will need to provide some conditions for investors, of course, to implement these technologies for sorting the bioplastics in the Czech Republic. This is the very first step. Then we have other technologies that, for example, like anaerobic digestions or industrial composting that are already being used in the Czech Republic, but only in certain regions, and we need to make them widely accessible for across the Czech Republic. So all the investments will be needed to implement these technologies of treating the composting from bioplastics. Okay.